Welcome to the Michigan Girls Hoops podcast presented by Prepare to Win Basketball. Prepare to Win Basketball is dedicated to empowering the Michigan girls basketball community through educational resources, media, and special events that prepare all to succeed. I am your host today. My name is Terrence Willis, and this is my co-host, Evan Bell. How's it going, Evan?
Doing great. Excited. We're finally breaking the internet with this. It's about time that Michigan had its very own girls basketball, college basketball, hoops podcast. So we're excited to be the first ones breaking the market with this.
Yes, we are extremely excited to be bringing you the first ever podcast of its kind, at least that we know of, right? The MGH podcast, we designed it very intentionally to only talk girls basketball, specifically as it pertains to its players, programs, coaches, showcases, and various AAU or recruiting services. So that's our very polite way of saying we're not going to spend any time talking about boys basketball. Love you all, not talking about you. We intend to use this podcast as a platform where we can help share positive or helpful information, thoughts and opinions, our opinions as it pertains to the girls basketball in the wonderful state of Michigan. Um, that being said, there's a variety of subjects that we're going to attempt to cover, but we will not try to cover them all at one time. If you, the viewer, however, have a subject or question or thought that you might want for us to address, we do have a small segment that we're going to do in every podcast, which we get to today. We're excited about, called Friends of the Pod. There we'll attempt to answer some of your thoughts or questions. You can just email those thoughts or questions to us at mghpodcasting@gmail.com, and that link will be listed for you below. I'm ready to get rocking and rolling, Evan. How you feeling?
I'm excited, Coach. Like I said, like we're used to having these conversations all the time, but we're kind of taking the people inside the coach's box, so to speak, today. I mean, most of our viewers and subscribers probably know us a little bit from, the travel scene and our different hats that we wear throughout the year, but I think it'd be good for us to introduce ourselves. Maybe some of those people out there don't know about our history and kind of where we come from. So, Coach, you want to share some information with the people about kind of who you are and your involvement in the girls' basketball game in Michigan?
Absolutely. I won't drag it out. If you watch the podcast, I have enough time to talk about myself. I'm going to get to talking about these girls. So, I'm one of the basketball coaches at Michigan Premier AAU. I hope direct the player development at that program and do some training as well. We won, a variety of different championships at different levels at different times. We won a USJ and national championship in 2020, Blue Star championship in 2021, and then a Nike national tournament in 2022 with a couple of different teams. Currently, I'm an assistant coach at the Spring Arbor University, where our program's having some pretty good success the last few years. I'm under Coach John Williams and Coach Alex Scott, and then I coach alongside Randall Field as the reserve head coach there at Spring Arbor. So I'm really, really excited about the opportunity again to give girls and parents or recruits or coaches the opportunity to, take a peek behind the curtain and be involved in some of these conversations we like to have behind the scenes.
That's awesome, Coach. And you're going to be a huge insight to all of our subscribers and viewers, kind of behind the curtain, as you said, with just learning more about how college coaches see the game and interpret everything. So a little bit about me. So basically, not quite the decorated resume, but I started off I got into the coaching gig 2020 with I was an assistant coach for the seventh grade boys at Howell Parker Middle School. And then the following season, I ended up as the freshman girls basketball coach at Howell. And so that was my first experience in the girls side of the game. And that was kind of before the big Caitlin Clark craze that took off and has really kind of brought the game, to a high level of popularity that we see today on the girls side. But I just love the kids were so amazing to coach, and just the girls so coachable, positive attitudes, everything, and just had a great time being a part of that staff. Then in 2022, I became the varsity girls coach at Lapeer when I went into teaching full time, and I was their coach for 2 seasons and director. And then last August, I joined Prep Girls Hoops as a scout. And then I'm currently the lead scout for Prep Girls Hoops Michigan. And then this July, I joined Lake Michigan College's staff as an assistant coach. So,
Congratulations, by the way. People don't know that yet, but they'll find out when this.
uh-oh, just broke the news. Surprise. No. So yep, I am part of staff there. So I guess I can, claim that I'm an actual college coach now. But I'm always looking to learn and you know, gain some nuggets and wisdom from experienced coaches like Coach T here. So anyways,
Experience, that might be a generous word. I'm still learning, man. We all are over here on the other side, but it's we're looking forward to seeing how things go for you all, man. I think you're a good spot for starting out.
yeah, definitely. Coach Bray and I are excited to build a solid program there. So, anyways, so on the docket today, we've got showcases as one of our main subjects. This is kind of a hotbed item, I'd say, in our state and among hosts and event organizers and the girls basketball community at large. So, as a former English teacher, I'm very sophisticated when it comes to language and any basketball coach would know that communication is vital to having a successful program. So when we're talking about showcases, my definition to understanding what it is basically just straight out a Merriam-Webster dictionary. I went with the verb here, but if you imagine a showcase, it's a literal way to exhibit, especially in an attractive or favorable aspect, something. When we look at showcases, the best showcases, in my opinion, are the ones that showcase the girls and the prospects and their skills in a way that's going to help them get recruited and showcase their skill set. Okay. So yeah, go ahead, coach.
So jumping in just for a minute, just defining a showcase, I agree. There's a ton of showcases that are advertised, right? Or things advertised as showcases, but not necessarily every showcase advertised is worth your money. I mean, there's going to be a new one all the time. Um, but to me, if a showcase, number one thing, doesn't allow you to identify your talent, your skill, or your marketability in front of someone who can evaluate your talent to help you, see where you're at as far as in process of recruiting or becoming a better high school basketball player, then that to me isn't a showcase. That's something different, and we can talk about what those things are at another time. But one of the ways to identify what a showcase is by understanding what it's not. It's not something where you come in the gym and just do a bunch of drills. And it's not necessarily something that you come in to at a particular university or another. It's a place where you can come in and literally show your skills off in front of someone who can tell you, where you're at as a basketball player. And it won't always mean that they're going to tell you directly because there's a lot of restrictions that college coaches have when it comes to talking to players when you're under the NCAA umbrella and sometimes the NAIA, which is a little bit more wild, wild westish. But there's a lot of things that you need to kind of look into when you're trying to figure out what a showcase is. One of the questions I have, and I'll have Evan answer this first before I dive into it, is once we kind of identify what a showcase is, what makes a showcase a successful showcase, and what makes it worth the time or the money.
Yep. And that coach, that kind of gets down to the nitty gritty, where the rubber meets the road of like, as a parent, as a kid, as a travel coach. I mean, these things like, your word is vital, your money, your time, so with so many offerings, you really do want to have a good idea in your head of what you're targeting, what showcase is going to be worth your time. So I kind of have this broken down into 4 bullet points, 4 elements, so to speak. So number one, prospects with current college level ability is where it starts as far as a showcase. So as a showcase host organizer, like, for Prep Girls Hoops or when I did the Headliners Invitational, like, we're trying to bring in kids that have college level ability currently, whether it's JUCO, D3, D2, NAIA, D1, whatever.
So that begs the question then, right? I mean, you walk into a gym, and I've done this 1,000 times now. I walk into a gym and you bump into someone who tells you, hey man, I've got this kid, or maybe it's the kid themselves, they're saying, hey, I think I'm good enough to play at this level of college or whatever. And how does a kid determine, that they are a college level prospect without going into the showcase? I mean, I have an idea, but how does a kid determine that? Because you walk into, I mean, you see it all the time.
Mhm.
Sometimes coaches and parents, they don't know. And sometimes kids don't know. How do you find out that you have college level ability?
Yeah, I mean that's a great question, Coach. So honestly, I mean that's kind of what prepare to win basketball, resources are about. That's why I started that newsletter. Is just, people we as a community, as a basketball community, we just need to learn more about, how can we see things the college way as far as how college coaches evaluate. You're determining your actual level of ability. Like the first thing I say is you have to go attend college games in person. You have to and before, and if I was so like, if I'm a college coach, that's recruiting you and all these things, like I would be asking like, have you seen us play? Like, have you seen our style? Have I seen you in the stands at a game? Like, cause if you're interested in my school and my team and you think you can play for us, like you probably should have, watched some games, seen how we play, if it's comparable to your skill set and what you do well.
So you
What
answered
do
the
you think,
coach's
Coach?
question, man. I was actually going to reply that way. There's a lot of kids, and we've done this for years in our program, but also watching the programs that have had success. Is you need to find out what college basketball looks like, and then when you're watching the game, be realistic with yourself. Say, hey, if I came today, could I play at this level with these girls on the floor? Because I don't care if you're playing junior college, NAIA D or D3, NAIA D2, whatever. When you walk in the gym and you watch these girls playing at the level that they're playing at, as hard as they're playing, sometimes even how hard they're being coached, right? There's a lot of kids that don't understand how hard you're going to get coached when you get to this level of basketball. Um, until you see it, and then it's kind of hard to tell where you're at. But then sometimes you got to get in the gym, which is why these showcases are helpful. Is you need to get in the gym with these kids who are getting looked at and see where you compare the kids in your class before you start looking at kids 3 or 4 classes above you. There's a ton of kids that will play up a grade or two that sometimes, quite frankly, don't belong in playing up a grade or two because you're not ready until you're dominating the kids in your class. It's not really always beneficial for you to be playing up because many coaches will recruit you or recruit girls in the class that they're in based on the need that we have in the upcoming class. Doesn't mean that all coaches will. Doesn't mean that coaches, there are exceptions to the rule where kids will or won't get early offers. But you need to find out where you're at skill set wise by going to watch the levels that you think you can play at. I have a very famous saying, um, really simple for me. If you don't know, you better ask somebody, right? If you don't know where you're at, ask somebody who's been where you're going or think that think they know where you're going. And just to get an idea, um, when it comes down to that, I'm going to jump in for a second and also, to say, hey, if I'm going to a showcase, one of the questions that I would ask myself, and I do this with my own kid, is who's going to be there, right? You're talking about a showcase, not an elite camp, not a skills camp, not a team camp. You're talking about a showcase. Who am I showing my skills to? If there aren't recruiters or coaches or somebody there in the building who can evaluate your skills at the college level or whatever the level it is you think you're trying to get to, I wouldn't. It's not to knock any showcases that are out there, but if you're putting on a showcase where kids don't have an opportunity to be evaluated and see, okay, I'm at this level or at that level, I don't necessarily classify those as showcases, and they're not worth the money. We don't in our program, our AU program, we don't send our girls to showcases where there aren't coaches to watch.
Yeah.
So a lot of times we'll get an email or text message or something from players or parents, say, hey, I got this email or I signed up for this thing or signed up for that. And I'm like, well, let me have a conversation first. Let me find out who's going to be there. Let me find out if it's going to work your time. And sometimes it's not even that the coach is going to be there. I want to know, from some of the directors of those showcases, what other kids are going to be in the building, right? Because some of our girls, quite honestly, in the state of Michigan, not just in our program, got to be humbled a little bit, right? You got to come in the gym and find out you're not quite at the level that you think you're at already. And a lot of kids don't know that. Sometimes their parents don't know that. So you need to find out when you're talking about a showcase, who is going to be there? Showcases are for you to find out where you're at and how much better you still need to grow as a player.
It's a great point, Coach. So I'm gonna kind of piggyback off of that a little bit. So the nice thing about our Prep Girls Hoops showcases, whether it's the freshman showcase or the expo, is that we actually publish a live update on our website that shows you the roster. So you can see, like, so you as a travel coach, a parent, as a participant, you can see the list, and we'll get into the 2028 list later, but you can see, like, it's a great variety that we have, and there are some of the best, very best freshmen in the state, attending this freshman showcase, and that's what's exciting about it. But just adding on to what you mentioned, Coach, like my number 2 point. So number one was prospects with current college level ability at the showcase. Next, you need to actually have college coaches evaluating in the gym. The more levels you have represented, more successful showcase.
Say college coaches, does that mean you got to have see Eastern Michigan back there? Does that Eastern, Western? Does that let's make it as plain as possible for the kids. What does college coaches being there mean?
Yeah, so any staff, college coaching staff member for a women's basketball program, JUCO, D3, NAIA, D2, D1, you can't assume that you're at one level or the other. Like, depending on the college coaches that are reaching out to you, following you, communicating with you, offering you all those things, like that kind of, I like to say, like, the more attention you have from more coaches at the same level of college, that more accurately represents the level you can play at. So if you don't have any, then it might be because you're a 2028, and over time, as you become older as a high schooler, you should start to see an uptick in colleges, that are recruiting you, especially that, I guess we're kind of getting in the weeds here, but your junior year, and then, definitely as the travel season going into your senior year.
Yeah, there's a lot of kids who and parents who think that because you didn't get an offer early that you're not a good basketball player or you're not, at this level. I tell our kids, and I tell any kids, who we has this conversation with, the evaluators at some of these camps and people who are running the different AAU circuits. eh, any offer you get before your junior year really is an early offer. And sometimes those offers won't be valid by the time you go to try to commit to that school. So every offer you get isn't necessarily a good offer, but also you're still trying to get better when you're young. I mean, it doesn't matter if you get an offer from the number one team in the country as a freshman, if by the time you get to your senior year, you're still the same player you were as a freshman. The goal is um, to continue to get better as a basketball player. I'm not going to jump ahead of Evan's points, but I will make mine really quickly. Sometimes kids and parents, we get caught up in the write-ups, right? And maybe not the coaches. 'Cause I'll tell you, we like the write-ups, but the write-ups don't tell me I'm going to offer this kid because, Evan Bell wrote an article, it was a great article about this kid who she had a great camp. So that means I got offer. She has to be a player at this level that we should be offering. It just means you had a good day, right? And even the coaches that come talk to you, we're here to observe, not necessarily offer. We're here to observe. And we want to make sure that you get in the gym and figure out, okay, how can I get better? Or did you get better? Or sometimes I'll come into the gym and I just want to know if you're better this year than you were last year. And those are conversations we have as coaching staff and other coaching staffs will have regularly. You got to get in the gym and get better. Evan, what else you got? I know you got a couple more
Let
points
me,
for you.
so I'm gonna, we kind of got a good game of ping pong going here. So
Mhm.
I'm gonna rally back with that. So because we talked about clarity of terms earlier, definitions. And so write
Mhm.
up, I love it when kids, they screenshot our articles and
Mhm.
post those on Twitter, and thank you for the write up. A write up is written coverage that we do, that we publish. And, you read that, you screenshot it, post it. That's a write up. A mention is when, Danielle or I were, or, Wade or whoever is covering an event, they're on social media, they're, doing a Twitter post, live coverage of the gym, and they're getting your name out there. So that's a mention. The written coverage is a write up. Now, a write up is primarily a celebration. It's, you did these, you performed these skills well, you caught our attention, you had a great day. We want to celebrate that and acknowledge all of your positive attributes that you showed to us. An evaluation is a completely different type of writing where, an evaluator is focusing on what you do well, what you need to improve, your behaviors, your attitudes, body language, coachability, just your athleticism, your physical profile, and then actually trying to place you into a category of level that you would currently be able to play for or project to as a college recruit.
There are some other, and I'm gonna shout out LBI, Jason Wilkins, Will Wade, or Keith Wade, and those guys. They do a great job. They do a combination of both, some write ups and then some private evaluations that coaches can take a look at. So even those college coaches out there in the state of Michigan, they probably all know Wilkins. They all know Wade and his team, Reggie, different ones, and not just in Michigan and other places as well. Their write ups are more, their evaluations are private, so
Mhm.
coaches can get a look. But then there are some write-ups where, like you said, a team will acknowledge the things that you've done well. Will acknowledge those things for you, and then um, those things will lead to potentially someone else coming to watch you. But again, evaluations versus a write-up. Again, neither one of them are bad. Neither one of them necessarily guarantee you going to go one way or the other. But a write-up is a celebratory post of what you do well. I will tell you as a coach, um, we'll read the write up sometimes. Sometimes we'll read them, sometimes we won't, depends on how busy we are, what time the season we're in. But when we come into a gym, we're not there to write things up. We're there to evaluate you. We want to evaluate your talent. We want to evaluate where you are, and then go from there as a coach. And there's multiple things that coaches will be evaluating. Not all coaches are looking for the same thing every time they walk in the gym. Sometimes, some coaches are looking for posts, some coaches are looking for guards, some coaches looking for athletes. It just depends on what the team might need, in that particular class. And then sometimes you just want to get a player, right? Just a kid who can flat out hoop, who's put the time in, they can put the ball in the basket, they defend well, et cetera, et cetera. But when coaches walk in the gym, we actually are evaluating who you are as a basketball player, but also who you are as a person. There's a particular um, thing that a lot of coaches do that I don't think kids and parents pay attention to. And we can talk about this more. We get to the recruiting aspect of things. But for instance, we'll be at this camp this weekend. And a lot of my evaluation at that age is going to be how immature you are, how mature you are, your parents are, how honestly, sometimes how annoying your mom and dad are when we're in the building. We don't really have time to deal with headaches at the college level. And so we'll walk in. I want to know, if I get to the gym, if I come in here, I want to know who likes Snickers, right? Who's killing Snickers bars at 8 o'clock in the morning versus who might be eating something that's a little bit better for their body, nutrition wise, who's coming in, who's stretching. We're even watching sometimes to see how you interact with other kids. Sometimes some programs need more personalities than others. It doesn't mean that you won't get an offer. But a lot of times you just want to, see, okay, when you walk in the gym, are you kind of more likely to kind of hide by yourself? You're a little more nervous, or you're a little bit more interactive. Like those are things that we're going to walk in, and that's a part of the evaluation for us as a college coach. That sometimes doesn't have anything to do with what you do when you get on the court, because you can have all the game in the world, but if your personality isn't the right fit for a program, then programs will move on and find something that's better for themselves. Doesn't mean that you can't hoop. Doesn't mean you're not a good player, but you just might not be the best fit for us. I tell you, we watched showcases and games where I just kids flat their attitudes suck. And maybe it only sucked for that weekend. Maybe it only sucked for that game. Maybe they were just having a bad day. Who knows what's going on at home? So we try to watch more than one games. But there have been times we watch players for a half or for a part of a drill, and I'm like, I couldn't. I don't want to coach that body language. I don't want to do it. Maybe they'll fix it in a couple of years. We'll come back and watch. But as you get older, get older in these showcases, the older you are, the less likely you're going to change some of those habits. And so if I get to like this year, if I'm watching a 2025 who already has a bad attitude, probably not watching that kid more than once at this stage, because that's who you are, right? You haven't figured out how to control your temper. And not every program can afford that. We're new to our program. We're not going to bring that in. There's a lot of coaches that don't want to deal with that type of thing. And bad attitude doesn't mean that you you get upset. You're a basketball player, but how you respond to it is huge for us as a program. Just a couple of the things I observe when you're walking into a gym. But anyway,
Good
um,
point.
Ev, talk to me a little bit about the format.
We won't really talk about this too long, but just number three of our elements is excessive media coverage seen by college coaches. So like at a showcase, there definitely needs to be a media presence. LBI, Prep Girls Hoops are two big ones in our state, but a strong media presence that has a strong following from college coaches. So when they're posting live updates on Twitter, like we'll be in the gym doing that for 5 hours of the showcase, on Sunday, but your how you do on the floor and how that's presented by scouts, that have a following on Twitter, like you want to have as much exposure as possible to college coaches. That's who it's for. So if somebody's evaluating you, posting you on social media, but nobody follows them, or they're not a trusted source by college coaches, then it's not really doing a whole lot. So the format, okay. So the format of a showcase should amplify recruitable qualities of the prospects. A showcase format is a little different than, skills camps, elite camps, because showcases are primarily just going to be like you show up, there's a strong media presence, there may be college coaches present, hopefully, and then you're going to get out there and you're going to ball, you're going to compete with girls that you may have played with, you may not have, but really it's just, like our freshman showcase, it's 58 girls who registered. You guys are going to be put on teams, you're going to show up, you're going to warm up, and then you're going to go out there and you're going to compete with coaches that haven't coached you before, with girls that you may have played with, probably haven't. And then you guys are just going to go out there and show us like how you adapt in game situations, what your skill set is, how you play with new teammates, which in my opinion is very similar to when you show up the first day with a new college program. So it's not there, you guys aren't practicing, you're not, going to be preparing beforehand to have a bunch of set plays or anything. You're just going to have to show us like, how do you adapt in game situations? How do you play with new girls? How do you communicate? Can you defend? Can you shoot? All those things.
So again, for your format, you want to make sure that you have, one, you go to a showcase that has a format. Because I've been to showcases where there isn't a format, right? It's close to, I like the ones personally that are as close to a college practice as possible. When it comes down to those. So that they're interesting. Doesn't mean that all of them are, because again, they're very young talent. Some kids are going to struggle to do some things, some a little faster, but it's fun to watch. And then we do like the scrimmaging when it's very nice to do all the drills and stuff, but when you get to the live play, we want to see if you can translate. That's huge. And speaking of showcases, Prep Girls Hoop does have a very exciting showcase coming up, right? This upcoming weekend, I think August 25th at the
Yep.
MSA Fieldhouse in Grand Rapids from 9 to 2 p.m. There's a Prep Girls Hoop showcase for the class of 2028. Talk to me about that a little bit.
Yeah, so this Sunday, this is a staple of so Prep Girls Hoops, we don't oversaturate the market with events. We focus on offering we have our travel circuit, of course, and our media coverage throughout the year, but we try to be very selective about when we offer events and how often and what they are. So basically, this freshman showcase, some of the benefits that our attendees are going to have is, you're going to get 5 hours of unprecedented live media coverage. So, our scouts will be there. We'll be tweeting constantly about you. College coaches that aren't in attendance will be reading about how you're doing. People that follow us on Twitter will be seeing that. We'll be taking your pictures to have special graphics made and posted on our Prep Girls Hoops Twitter. Special graphics that label you as a top performer. Each girl is going to receive a Prep Girls Hoops exclusive reversible with our trademarked blue colors. The games are recorded and streamed on Baller TV. So if you have a Baller TV subscription, you'll be able to watch the games yourself. And then, so something we're excited about this year is that in 2023, we had 45 prospects, 5 teams. You played 4 games. This year, we have increased that total to 58 prospects attending. So, and just looking at the list, it's pretty exciting. Like a lot of names that, Coach Willis has coached against, or kids he's coached in the 28 age group. And then a lot of kids I've seen, our scouts have seen on the travel circuit, and then also making some noise with their high school teams as a freaking incoming freshman. They're already like giving upperclassmen a run for their money on the basketball
Yeah.
court.
I think
So
that's one of the benefits of doing that AAU circuit thing that we'll talk about in another pod at some point. So you said 58 prospects attending this year,
yep. According to our
up from
registration, that's what
45.
we have. Yeah.
But that's
Um,
exciting, man. So that being
yeah.
said, and I know that there are, again, I've had the fortunate and sometimes unfortunate pleasure of coaching with, and well, I love all the kids I've coached, but against some of these talented kids. Any freshmen that are signed up for this showcase that we should be aware of.
Attending this freshman showcase or any like the expo showcase is that we really go above and beyond with our coverage. Like every single girl who attends these showcases is going to receive a write-up, like a written write-up. Your teams will be written about in your own article on Prep Girls Hoops platform. So that's exciting. So every girl's going to get a write-up, and then we will release a all tourney. I guess we usually do an all tourney team for Prep Girls hoops circuit events, and then we do all showcase teams for the expo and for the freshman showcase and sophomore ID camp. So we're gonna
So
have
they can find those write-ups on the website.
yeah, so prepgirlshoops.com, and then you go to Michigan, and then you'll be able to subscribe and see. Make sure that as you see the scouts on Twitter, we post your write-ups and the articles. Make sure you use our coupon codes for discount, and then you'll be able to see when the articles come up. We've got a lot of kids that we're looking forward to. What I'm excited about is there's a lot of names I recognize, but there's some I just have not heard of yet, which means I'm gonna know somebody new. We're gonna have somebody new on our radar. Like our goal as Prep Girls Hoop Scouts is to cover really every kid in Michigan who can play basketball at the college level in some form. So that's exciting to have a lot of new kids that have signed up and will be competing in front of us.
Nice. So I want to remind all of our listeners. So there's going to be write-ups from these camps, and from many of you all, it's going to be exciting, and some of you all will be your first time getting wrote up, and that'll be great and exciting. We're excited about it. I'm excited to come and watch you all play, but I don't want you to get overly uh worked up about getting the write-up. I mean, remember, you can have a bad day if you go to these showcases. It doesn't mean you're a bad basketball player. You can have a great day. It doesn't mean that you're number one player in the state of Michigan. They're from a college coach's standpoint. I'm telling you, these showcases are just right now a way for me to figure out who you are. Wait for the other coaches are going to be to figure out who you are. But don't stop. Don't leave this camp and you walk away with a great write up and you feel like, hey, I'm the best freshman in Michigan because you have one good day. We want you to keep getting better as a basketball player. The most important thing about basketball, especially as a young age, is that you continue to get better. Girls are going to get stronger. They're going to become more athletic. They're going to get smarter. They're going to be able to shoot better and better the more time they spend in the gym. Don't come in, have a good day, and then the next 3 years you become a where does she go type player, because there are a ton of great freshmen. In this class is probably, I mean, honest, one of the best classes in Michigan we've seen in a long time, top to bottom. There's been a lot of really good classes in the past, but I'm curious to see where this 28 class is going to line up. So make sure you come in these camps. Don't get content because you had a great day that day. Like, continue to be ready to work when it's all said and done. Any prospects on that list we want to take a look at a little bit?
So coach, I know you've spent time coaching Lucille. Is it Rosick?
Lucy Rozak. Is that you're
Yeah.
asking about?
Yeah. So what do you
Jackson Lumen Christie's Lucy Rozak. Yeah.
Yeah, so she's the first one that kind of pops out to me. I've seen Sar play at Spring Arbor's shootout this summer. She's, super scrappy, downhill, explosive off the bounce, can shoot off the dribble. What are some other skills, that kind of pop out in your head, Coach?
Well, so what you can't see on the paper is Lucy's one of the smarter players that we've had the privilege to coach. I mean, she's a coach's kid. She's a multi-sport athlete, works extremely hard. She's actually going to be playing another kid I think will be at your showcase at Lumen next to Kenna Hunt, who's a
Yeah.
superstar
Mhm.
in the making right now. But Lucy's got incredible work ethic, man. She works hard. She's always in the gym. She's getting up ton of shots every day. Ball handles well. One of the things I like the most about coaching this young player, like again, she's super smart, but she finds a way to impact the game on more than one side of the basketball. So I'm curious to see as she continues to work on her athleticism. If she gets a little taller, or if she, ends up being a smaller guard, where she'll end up because Lucy's a dynamic, hardworking, very intelligent young basketball player. Excited to see her on this weekend, outside of the element of school ball and AAU, to see where she kind of lines up versus some of these other really really good guards in this class.
Definitely. Thanks, Coach. Um, so I'm just gonna like rapidly say all because
Sure.
I know we might run out of time, but
Sure.
I'm gonna name all the names that we have currently
Mhm.
that really stand out to me as someone I've seen play a lot. So Kaya Mahaber, I know I pronounced that wrong, and I apologize.
Mhm.
Gabby Gaydosh, Adeline Jarcho,
Charco. Yep.
Charco, yep.
Hmm.
Kenley Slanger, Emma,
Hmm.
the McLaughlin twins are coming. Emerson Holder, Nandi Gordon from East Lansing, Mayrese View. She's phenomenal. Madison Rapecki, the Turner twins, Maddie McChester, kind of Hunt, as you mentioned, Hallie Powell, Paisley Stevens, Lila Valentine, Raquel Walker, Allie Koenig, Kendall Byers, John Honeycutt, Mila Taladay, Jayla Adams, Leland Brown, Lucy Young, Bella Flavin. I mean, it's like I said, this list is like just booming off the charts.
It's an extensive list, man. You got some names on there. I know Paisley Stevens has made quite an impact already as a freshman at Belleville. I personally, I can't speak for Jason, but I expect to see her probably start and play a lot of games for Belleville this year. She's really talented. Emerson Holder, another really
Yep.
talented player. And honestly, you can name almost any girl from that Mystics club, man.
Yeah,
Those
that
kids
Mystic Select
flat
team
out
just flat out destroys.
that
Like they're on a
that
mission of
team
destruction this
and
travel
they played
season.
up. They played up all spring and did extremely well playing up. So that's a program that has a lot of players in it that are very very talented. As incoming freshmen, again, the goal is to keep getting better. That class of freshmen, man, I said there's all those girls that you named, the twins. Um, there's a
Yeah,
ton of really really exciting prospects coming in that we're excited to watch. I mean,
definitely.
for me, it's all about seeing if you got better from the time we've seen you, right? Not that we don't care, but no one cares how good you were last year. We want to see you keep getting better every year. So that's exciting, man. There's there are some dogs on that list, man. There's some dogs on
Mhm.
that list, and I'm excited to see who's got more bite than bark. Let's see what happens when we
Definitely take a whole podcast to discuss all
Mhm.
these girls, but I'll mention one, Maddie McChester from Renaissance. She's kind of one of those
Yeah.
28s, as you mentioned with Paisley, but just an immediate impact player with
Hmm.
Renaissance. She's a defensive stud. Just she's really athletic, great mobility laterally to cut off ball handlers, scrappy defender. She's great driving baseline and making an extra pass to the corner. She shoots, she attacks to downhill. So just she's been an exciting player to watch this summer.
Yeah,
Um,
had a great opportunity to watch Maddie up close and personal in some of our scrimmages when she played with Storm before she moved over crossover, I believe, where she's playing now. But she's super physical, man. One of the more physical players in that class. She'll take your lunch if you're not ready to
totally.
play, man. So I'm excited to watch her play. See how she's developed as a player.
Jana Honeycutt or Jana Honeycutt. I'm sorry, I haven't asked her in person how to pronounce her name yet, which I'll get a chance to this weekend, hopefully. But she's one like just in multiple environments has shown up and just like she's one of those kids that played up um, at Spooky Nook in
Yeah.
July. She played up with the Premier 2026 team at the Super Showcase and just attacking downhill. She can shoot. She defends well. Really, really solid rebounder, finisher. She finishes strong off two through contact. She did that again at Central Michigan's elite camp. So she's somebody that shows up in multiple environments and performs well in the spotlight. So she's another one I'm excited to see for sure this Sunday.
Honeycutt's she's a player, man. She's been playing with that drive program for a long time. She's in the backcourt with the younger white pitch,
Yep.
causing issues with us when we're playing against her. Sometimes she's a very, very talented player, big guard who can do everything.
Mm-hmm.
Fun to watch.
If you do want to kind of learn more about these kids, subscribe to Prep Girls Hoops and you can read all of our articles about them. And I'll also be releasing a all showcase preview leading up to Sunday. So some of these names will show up in there for you to read about beforehand. So let's with that, we can kind of transition forward.
Let's talk elite camps for a quick moment, and we'll get into some questions. So I won't go into all the details about this a little bit, but we did want to touch base on this. It's on our docket, and if we don't get to the other stuff, we don't. But elite camps are different than a showcase. Generally, elite camps are specific to colleges. For instance, you can sign up for any college elite camp in the country, from junior college, Division One. There's going to be, a college that does elite camp. Always, it's not, they're not all the same. So it's not always wise to just spend money and go elite camp, elite camp, elite camp. Especially,
Pretty sure.
sometimes sometimes kids get carried away, and you'll see them showing up at this camp and they show up at that camp.
Every single one.
And well, as a coach, I mean, we'll take the money because it's a fundraising opportunity for us. But you need to be showing up to elite camps at colleges that you're interested in, ideally. And one of your coaches should probably be reaching out to the coaching staff there to make sure they can give you some feedback on your game. I don't think any player should regularly be going to an elite camp at a college they're not interested in playing at. And quite honestly, you need to find out if the college is interested in recruiting you, right? You can show up 1,000 times to whoever's league camp, and if they're not interested in you, you're just giving us $1,000, right? Or however much it is to go. So
man, that's expensive elite camp, coach.
Figure out,
take out a mortgage for that elite camp.
Well, if you show up 1,000 times, even if you give us
exactly, actually, some probably have spent $1,000 this summer on $100 a pop.
So yeah, elite camps are a lot like the showcases. You got to find out why you're going and what you're looking for. And there's nothing wrong with going to a bigger elite camp. I mean, University of Michigan has one of the better elite camps where kids are there every year, right? If you want to go to a bigger college and just see what it's like to experience playing on that court and that environment or with that staff, nothing wrong with those things. But a lot of kids are not going to they're not going to end up at a school like Michigan or Michigan State or
your high major and mid-major elite camps. If you want to have fun, you really want to go be a student at Central, Eastern, whoever, and you're passionate about that, or you want to meet the coaching staff. For those, if you're looking to go for a recruiting purpose, then I would definitely kind of look to receive a personal invitation from those coaches or have already been talked to them somewhat.
Some things out there as well called skill camps. Those are more specific to you working on a certain skill set or even knowledge of the game. For instance, you get your PG development camps. We had a bunch of those growing up when I was a player. But girls, there's a post development camp, defense, jabs, counters, like all these different skills you can work on that are part of the basketball game. There are a pretty good amount of those as well. And those are things you can look into doing because they're going to actually kind of more like training you on a skill set. Training something that you need to both learn how to do on your own as well. But when you have enough money to afford it, then you can go to a skills camp or even hire a trainer. Big point of emphasis. You shouldn't only be training when you're with the trainer. You shouldn't only be training when you're at a skill camp or an elite camp or something like that. Like you got to take the lessons that you get at these camps home. You got to find a way to get in a gym or a driveway or go to a park or wherever you can work and get better as a basketball player. We don't have time to get into it as much today because we're pushing it on time, but we'll talk more about the difference between trainers and that stuff at another time. Because I want to get into our mailbag here.
Yeah.
What you got? What do we have in the mailbag today, Ev?
All right, Coach. So our friends of the pod, questions for the day, episode 1, first mailbag segment. So question 1 here we have, there are so many elite camps out there. How do I choose the right one?
You know what? That's a great question. And again, just a little bit earlier, we kind of touched on it, but again, to choose the right elite camp, when it comes to a college elite camp, you need to find out what level you're at as a basketball player. When you're young, coming into high school, your options are all ahead of you, right? Have those conversations with your parents, with the coaches that are coaching you, whether you're AAU coaches or your school coaches or whatever. Just have an idea of where you're at right now, right? Um, Secondly, you got to look at the cost. Some of these camps cost more than other camps do. And there's a reason why some of them cost more. You got to figure out, if you can afford to attend those camps. And then the third thing that I would say is, be real with yourself. Be real with yourself with where you're at as far as where you want to go to school. If Spring Arbor University isn't a college that you're interested in attending, then why would you show up to a Spring Arbor elite camp? It doesn't make sense. Now, again, for us as a coach, we love to have you come in and work you out and get to see who you are as a basketball player. But if we're not going to be a school that's recruiting you or you're not interested in us recruiting you, then our camp's probably not going to be one you're going to enjoy very much because we're going to do skills and drills very specific. And Evan will tell you when you watched our elite camp, they're very specific to the type of kids you want to recruit. So if you're a kid that wants to come in and dribble all over the place and dribble 14, 15 times before you take a shot, you're not going to like our elite camp. Spring Arbor, but also means you probably didn't watch us play before you showed up. So you want to get an idea of what is the right type of camp for you. Any elite prospect camp where you can compare yourself to other players isn't a bad idea to go at least one or two of those every year, even if maybe you're not going to end up going to that college where the camp is held at, but any of those camps you can get in and see where you line up outside of a structure of whatever your AAU or school program is. Those are good camps to go to.
Yep. And real quickly, let me add on to that, Coach. Just it seems like everybody and their mother has an elite camp these days. Every college. I mean, I had that list of elite camps that I was kind of putting out there on Twitter, and God, I mean, if you wanted to, like, you could go into debt going to elite camps just because
Oh yeah.
just it's rare to see a college not offer one. So with
Yep.
that in mind, be selective, like prioritize the schools that are prioritizing you, that are communicating with you, that are actively recruiting you, attending your games, contacting you, have an open line of communication with you. So, and like Coach said, are they a school you want to attend? So if they offer your academic programs, they're a school you want to attend for your level, yes, please, sign me up. All right. So question 2. So do college coaches use elite camps as a recruiting tool? That's an interesting.
The short answer is yes. Um, I mean, it's a quick way for me to know that you're interested in coming to Spring Arbor if I walk into our elite camp and you're there, right? So I can start with put this person down, as an option. Most elite camps by college coaches will have the names of the girls who are going to be there, because we get them right when you sign up. Your mom, dad, whoever will sign those up. You find out what school you go to, what year you're in, and then from there we do use it as a recruiting tool, right? Um, there's a double-edged sword. Sometimes you're going to sign up for a camp and the coach is not going to be interested in recruiting you to their program. It doesn't mean that you're not a good player. But sometimes it might mean you're either not at that level or we might have somebody in that class that we kind of prefer at the time over you. It doesn't mean you're not a good basketball player, but 1,000%, we use elite camps as recruiting tools.
Yep. All right.
Even
And then,
our girls in the, oh, sorry, some
yeah, go
coaches
ahead, Coach.
recruited our girls in the past. They have made it clear, we want to get you on campus. So some of you might be waiting on an offer from one of the GLIAC schools and you've never been on their campus. Um, Sometimes elite camp's a great way to come in and shine. And I've seen girls get offers, and we have offered girls at our program when you came to the elite camp, who we might not have offered ahead of time. Usually, you're not going to show up to the elite camp the first time, and we don't know who you are at all, and you get an offer. But if we have an idea of who you are, and you come to elite camp, then there's a good chance, that relationship is easier to use to recruit you.
Definitely. And that
Yeah.
kind of, contributes to the idea of how important it is to be actively, if you want to be recruited, the more you're seen playing travel basketball, on circuits and in tournaments that are, have strong media coverage presence and college coaches that attend consistently, that's going to help you So then the college coaches that have these elite camps, you show up, they already are familiar with you, and then, they might be ready to make an offer or at least really start to kind of zoom in on you as a prospect.
Yep.
All right. So last question. How do I know which showcases I should go to or pass on? That's
That's a probably along the same lines. Great question. But again, it's you got to find out, where you're at as a basketball player. So you should be going to some showcases or league camps or skill camps or whatever. But you have to have that conversation with your coaching staff. You can always feel free if you see us out and about to kind of have those conversations. I will tell you, in our program, and I can't speak for every program, but a lot of programs I know of, if you ask a question, you got to be ready for the answer, right? You have to be ready for the answer to say, hey, should I be going to this camp, that camp? Coach tells you, hey, I don't think you're at that level. Go to this other school, or go to this other showcase. You got to be able to kind of accept that. But the simple answer is you should ask. You should ask ahead of time. I'm interested in attending this camp. Talk to whoever's throwing the camp if you can get a hold of them. If not, talk to your coach or director, and they can have a conversation with you. As far as a showcase is concerned, um, if you don't have any offers, you're trying to get your name on the market a little bit, it's good to go to a couple showcases, and kind of find out what they're there. But I would double check if you're already being offered, start having some conversations. You're a little bit older in the process. Reach out to the coaches who are recruiting you or you're interested in recruiting you. Find out if they're going to be there. Okay. If you're a sophomore or junior in the colleges you're interested in, who are also interested in you aren't going to be there to kind of continue to evaluate you. And not that they've offered you already, but you've had a conversation with. One of the quick ways to find out, okay, this is probably not a showcase for me is none of the coaches you're trying to get recruited by are going to be there, right? If you don't have any offers or not even like any conversation with coaches, you gotta get your name out there. So pop out and find some showcases where the players are. But again, my straight advice would be you should ask. There's not the only thing is going to hurt if you ask is your feelings. It's not going to hurt your game to know who's going to be there, and it doesn't hurt to have the information. If you find out for whatever reason that you're either not at the level you think you are right now, or that someone that you're interested in recruiting you is not going to be there, the only thing that hurts is okay. Well, that'll be fine. It won't hurt your pockets, though. You feel a little
Yep,
bit better about that.
exactly. Good points, coach. And I'll add as well, look at the history of the showcases. Have they been successful at helping girls? When you see the history of the showcases, like, are there girls that are moving on to the next level? Has there been girls, you can even talk to girls that have been in the showcase that are older than you, like, hey, did this help your recruiting? Did college coaches attend this? Did they talk to you afterwards? Look at the college coaches that are attending. If the showcase has a list of college coaches and they're posting that about who's going to be there. Look at the elements that we shared. So, when you listen to this podcast, you can listen to it as many times as you want. Take some notes on the elements that we have, of what a successful showcase is. The more elements that a showcase has that we've discussed today, the more successful it's going to be, and probably more of a priority you should put on that showcase. And know the purpose of the showcase that you're going to. So, like the freshman showcase, our purpose is to help all of you experience a showcase format for the first time, put your name out there for college coaches and for scouts and recruiters to see on social media and also in the write-ups, to generate excitement and have fun competing against girls in your class. It's going to help us be able to rank you, because our rankings will be coming out, going into your freshman year, following your freshman year. But for our watch list that we're going to be forming, like, if you're at this showcase and you're on the bubble or you're a kid we haven't seen before, it's helping you compete and show that you belong in the conversation with the best freshmen in this class. So just know the purpose of the showcase ahead of time, and then you'll be able to make an informed decision about if you're going to attend it. So.
Cool. Oh, great information. We're going to go ahead and wrap up today's podcast. Again, thank you for joining us on Michigan Girls Hoop Podcast. We want to remind our listeners to both like and subscribe to our YouTube channel, as well as follow us on our platform, Twitter, formerly, or X, I guess, formerly known as Twitter. Links to our Twitter account can be found in the bio below. as well as links to YouTube can be found on the Twitter bio. We really hope you've enjoyed today's conversation. For those of you who listened to this point, we'll give you a quick little snippet. Our next podcast will be a lot shorter, probably than this one. We don't want to take up all our time, but we'll be interviewing the new Eastern Michigan women's basketball head coach, Sahara Nusebe. You don't want to miss that one. It's going to be exciting. A lot of great conversation. For Evan and I, have a great rest of your day. Thanks for joining us. We'll talk to you later.
Yep. See you next time.